Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TripleJump Podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
My name is Peter.
Peter?
Yes?
How are you feeling?
A little bit stuffums, actually.
Yeah?
A little bit snuffly stuff. Well, I feel fine. I just sound not very good. So I just have to apologize for, a podcast is not the best kind of medium to be doing when you sound bad, because it's all audio. Unless you're watching on YouTube.
On YouTube.
Hi.
Don't you think that the additional stuffiums sort of
Yeah.
provides a gravitas to your voice that is not necessarily
Well,
as
it's better when you've
present
just
usually?
got a sore throat, but like a clear sinuses.
Right.
The husky voice, husky throat is good, but when you're feeling a bit stuffed shit oatcakes, then that's not fair.
It's my favourite Mel Gibson film, Sinuses.
Yeah?
Yeah. They're out there. Is that it? Anyway,
I want to believe.
Welcome to the video game podcast that we do. It's about video games. Welcome to 2020. And quite suitably, to kick off 2020, we're going to talk about 2019.
We are.
Which is the year, Peter,
Yeah.
that we've just had.
It is. How are you, by the way, Ben? I didn't ask you.
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Okay,
I'm
good.
fine. A little tired.
Yeah.
Ready. I got sort of... I went a bit stir-crazy over the break.
Yeah?
Towards the end of last week, I was just thinking about work all day.
Yeah, I can
just
tell.
thinking, what's the thing we need
You've
to
done all sorts of prep and stuff.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Well.
you had ideas when we got back.
Yeah,
and
no,
had-
that's true.
had
I
the
had
meeting in the morning.
I had
was like,
I had a whole
what on
list of. I had plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm looking forward to talking about the games, what came out last year.
Yeah.
So this isn't a usual podcast for
No,
us.
it's not.
It still counts as a regular episode, but what we're doing is we're running down the 5, or in some cases maybe not quite as many, which we'll talk about in a minute, games that we enjoyed the most last year. In addition, as we plugged before we broke up for Christmas, Christopher Moss,
Yes.
we put it to the patrons and asked them to provide their their 5 favorites of the year.
Yeah, they initially voted on. They could sort of nominate anything, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, it was just to put your 5 favorite games in the comments.
And when they all we got all those together, and then we got people to say of those that they'd cumulatively come up with,
Yep.
to vote on their top 5. and
Absolutely.
give their thoughts, their feedbacks.
We got like a top 8 based on how many games were mentioned most frequently, and then people got to vote for which was their favorite out of those ones. So it's been through a couple of rounds. I can't even speak. A couple of rounds of voting, and now we're here with the Patreon selected 5 best games of 2019.
Yes.
And we're going to run down ours alongside them. Except maybe not quite 5, Peter Austin.
No, well, see, I knew that we had to bring 5 today. I've known that for a long time. But when it came to choosing them, I could come up with like 3 solid games that I was like, well, they're top 3.
Yeah.
Then I could come up with another one that I really enjoyed. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll put that one in. And then for the 5th, it's not that I've only played 4 games this year. Last year, we played all kinds of things. We had like World War Z sent to us.
Bee Simulator.
I don't know if that came out. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. That was Medieval as well. But basically, I couldn't really come up with something that felt like it should be in the top 5, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
There was nothing else that I like really thoroughly enjoyed last year, and I thought I could shove Medieval in there, but I didn't think it was much better than World War Z, or and there's a bunch of other games as well that I've not actually played. I've been waiting for Untitled Goose game to come out on PS4, and then there's another big name that people will probably have put in their top 5s, which I've just not got around to yet. But yeah, so I've brought 4 essentially.
You got 4.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
That's okay.
And I'm sure we'll hear all about it in the comments, that actually 2019 had a lot of great games, but it feels very much that the sort of current generation is winding down. In that I played lots of games that I enjoyed last year, but assembling a top 5, there wasn't really any discussion for anything that may or may not deserve to be on the list for me. It was just sort of, here are 5 games that I liked the most, and I don't think the other ones really deserve a Game of the Year nod, personally.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, if you'd asked us the year before, I think, or the year before that, there's been some
Spider-Man,
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man,
God of War, Spider-Man, all of them.
All of those
Spider-Man,
ones, yeah.
all of the ones.
And next year, God, it's probably going to be all kinds of things to
We're
talk
going to have
about.
a launch lineup,
Yeah.
which hopefully is decent. But anyway, we'll get back to regularly scheduled podcast content next week, where we'll be discussing, happenings and answering questions and so on. But this week, it's just us running down our top 5 and top 4 and the top 5 patron voted games of the year as well.
Yeah.
Before we get started, Peter,
Yes.
we've got a sponsor, as we do every week.
Brilliant.
Back in 2020,
Yeah.
hitting things off with a bang. And here's his
With a
first,
bang?
this is the first sponsor
Yeah.
of 2020. Are you ready?
Yes.
Table just groaned.
Can we get a table sponsor to provide a...
Oh,
I don't know what that is.
can we just... That's not right, is it?
No,
why
it's
is it,
not.
Why is it doing that? The table's furious. New
Yeah.
year, new table. Am I right?
I wish.
This is gonna. I'm just gonna have to pull this slightly apart because it's. There we go. It's just farting every time we lean on it.
It's okay. It's like
Okay.
grandma.
I'm sorry.
Like grandma
Just
does.
like grandma. So,
I'm pulling them a little bit further apart.
what's that song you sing on New Year's? Old Lang
Lang Syne.
Old Lang Syne.
Yeah.
This week, we're sponsored by Old Hangs 9, because the popular game Hangman it's turned 9 years old.
Is that the
That's
full
it.
stop?
That's
Full
it.
stop.
I was not ready.
Oh, okay.
By which I mean the sponsor this week is real, but it just wasn't. I didn't go through.
I think there's a
all
Crash
of the-
Bandicoot 3 level called Hang 8, and you said Old Hangs 9.
There we go.
There's something.
Maybe
There's some sort of
that's-
something there.
Maybe that's
You do the
what
work.
maybe that's what I meant. Anyway, it's a lie. It's you idiots. You all believed it was real, even though it was truly dreadful this week.
Old Zang's lying.
Old Slang's lines.
Old Zang is lying.
Old Zang has lied to
Yeah.
all of you. This show is, of course, brought to you by the patrons. Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. $1 or more gets you access to the podcast post. Obviously, not this week because there isn't one. But it would have gotten you access to the ability to vote in the games of the year, which we're talking about this week. There are different tiers for different rewards, but we can't do this show without our patrons. So without further
Ado.
ado,
We will say ado.
Without further ado,
Yeah.
let's kick things off. Peter,
Yes.
would you like to take charge of what the patrons voted? Number 5.
Yes. The patrons voted. Is this 10% of the vote?
This is 10% of the vote of the. I can't remember how many games there were people could vote for. Maybe 7 or 8.
At number 5 from the patrons, with 10% of patrons' votes, it's Borderlands 3.
Oh!
We've got some quotes here. Oh, we just got one actually from Stephen Scodes, and then we've got some plural quotes for other games. Stephen Scodes, for example, says, Borderlands 3 is my choice because I got into Borderlands this year because of Ben. When I played the games, I was hooked from the start. I didn't enjoy Borderlands 2 that much, but when Borderlands 3 came out, I gave it a try and loved every second of it. Gameplay was excellent, the story was fun, and I spent so many hours playing it. It also has a lot of replayability, and I had so much fun with it.
Glad to hear that.
How about that?
I am pretty sure
Yeah.
we'll be talking about Borderlands 3 again later on.
Yeah, I have a feeling. we might be.
So we won't talk too much about Borderlands 3.
Right?
What I will do, though, is talk about my number 5,
Yeah, do it.
which is Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled.
Oh, yeah, okay. Only in at number 5.
Only in at number 5, purely because through probably my own fault,
Yeah.
I burned out on it pretty hard.
It's lower than I thought it would be in my list too, for similar reasons.
In which case, I won't discuss it too much. I'll just voice my opinion on it now at the beginning of 2020, and then I imagine it will show up for
When
you.
it reappears, we can have a proper dialogue.
We'll have a discussion. Basically, I really liked Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
The original Crash Team Racing. I played so much of it on PS1 and the PlayStation Classic version that they released, the digital version. I played it on PSP and Vita and on PS3. So when this was coming out, was very excited. And it took some getting used to, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it is ridiculous in a lot of ways, especially the harder difficulties seem sort of, they kind of just seem like arbitrary difficulty where it decides, okay, now people can outrun missiles.
Yeah.
Or you hit someone with a power-up in front of you, and the speed with which they bounce around then practically negates the fact that they were even hit to begin with, and they just carry on in front of you. And it's like, well, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
You mess up once, everybody disappears, you never see them again.
Yeah.
So that was annoying, but I did get really, really good at it because I was doing all the time trials.
Right.
And sadly, I wasn't able to enter the office competition last year for Crash Team Racing.
No, you weren't here, were you?
Which is a real bummer because I would have liked to have had a go at that. Yeah, rest in peace, Dick.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fantastic game. Sadly, has been overshadowed slightly by Activision's greed.
Yeah.
After the fact, I haven't gone back and touched the last 3, whatever they're called, Grand Prix that they've done.
Grommets.
The Grommets.
Yeah.
Because I just I burned out on it. I was trying to do all of I don't know how anybody could go back every month.
No, I don't.
And play it so much every day that they unlocked everything, because I just got so bored of it after a while.
I appreciate that. Well, yeah, we'll go into proper dialogue soon, but I appreciate that Activision have continued to add stuff. I mean, that's a nice thing. But I think just the fact that you have to then grind so much to get anything out of these like monthly updates, it's like, oh, okay, it would be great if you just like added some new content every month, and then we could just enjoy it at our leisure.
Yeah,
but you kind of can't.
Or just put the put the. I mean, to be fair to them, the unlocks from playing and doing the daily challenges and getting Nitro points, whatever they are.
Yeah.
The top tier unlock was usually wasn't it usually just a skin? A special skin. So it didn't really matter that much. All you had to do was complete the first wave to unlock the good character. Like
the
Spyro.
character was normally the first. Yeah.
And you got the map for free, but it's just the fact that it was there.
Yeah.
And you wanted to play it, and it was like, I can't. Every day I'm logging in and doing a Grand Prix or a cup race.
Yeah.
Just to get 250 Nitro. No, I can't do it anymore. I just can't. But I think it's a faithful recreation. Really like it.
Yeah.
Would love for them to do some kind of sequel, but they've turned it into practically a live service game.
Yeah,
now
it kind of is
with the Grand Prix. So I don't know if we'll ever get a sequel of some kind, but we will see. We'll see. And that is my number 5. Peter, would you like to tell everybody your number 4 game of the year for 2019?
My own number 4. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. In at number 4. Bit of a wild card, actually. I've had a lot of fun with you and with my fiance on Trine 4.
Trine 4?
Yeah. And had a little bit of fun playing it at home as well. Mm-hmm. This is a game, it's a very personal choice, this. Ben and I and my fiance like to play Trine together when we're all in the...
Billy fell.
Sorry, Billy feels left out
Billy
sometimes.
fell.
It is now 4 players, though, so Billy could play too.
Billy could.
He could. It's very much a game for sitting around with your mates and being a bit silly. And I think they're very much aware of that now, the guys who make Trine, or girls, because I noticed that one of the things they have done this time in Trine 4 is with some of the unlockable abilities, in the actual description of the ability, it will say things like, the thief can now like use 3 ropes at once or 2 ropes at once to tie things together, and will definitely not end up tying up their friends or whatever,
right?
Or, something like that. Or Pontius has now unlocked the ability to do such and such, much to the dismay of the wizard and the thief.
Yes,
because they know that it's a game where it's best played sitting on the couch with a few beverages. Responsibly, and just sort of cluster funking all together.
Yeah, sure.
A little cluster funk.
Just cluster funking your way around.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of fun with that, and looking forward to when we're all together again to play it.
Absolutely. It's just very whimsical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's always very, because it's not, I don't want to say it's limited in its scope, but certainly from its graphical style, it doesn't need to be that comprehensive.
Yeah.
It's not a 3D open world, for example.
Yeah.
And so it allows them to create levels that are just very pretty looking.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful game. And there's like The boss fights feel a little bit more like actual boss fights now, rather than just spam attack. Like there's actual, you have to, there's like phases, or there's like timings of certain attacks that you have to dodge and then hit a weak spot and all that kind of thing. So that's nice. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. We've not finished it yet, but good game.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The patron voted number 4.
Yes.
Is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order with 11% of the vote, just beating out Borderlands 3.
Just.
We have a couple of opinions here, Peter.
Yeah, we do.
The first one is from Andrew Starling, who says, Star Wars, it's the only one other than Borderlands I've consistently gone back to.
Okay.
Which I think speaks volumes, really,
Yeah,
doesn't
it does.
Really
That alone, just going back to a game that has replayability is instantly a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And Quiet Insane, voting for Star Wars as it shows publishers that single-player games are still popular and profitable.
Yes, EA.
Yeah, EA they're listening. They know.
Yeah, I hope they are. I mean, there's rumors now that that they're already thinking about doing more games sort of in this series, which is exciting.
The Fallen Order series.
Yeah, or the Star Wars Jedi : series. Star Wars Jedi : Oh no.
Star Wars Jedi :
Yeah. So,
Force Awakens.
They've seen how well it's done. The reception was really good for that game, and I'm so pleased that it was, because there was a lot of discourse around this saying like, oh, you shouldn't buy that game because you shouldn't support the fact that EA own the license, and even if it turns out to be a good game, you shouldn't do it because EA have done too many bad things. And I think no, like, don't buy Battlefront if you don't agree with Battlefront and the things they've done there, and don't buy this and that if you don't agree with those specific games for those policies. But if a game comes out that you do agree with, because it's a single-player narrative game without any microtransactions so far, then you should buy. That's what voting with your wallet means. You don't just vote with your wallet by not buying stuff to annoy the company. You buy the stuff that you like so that they know, well, we'll do more of that then.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what's happening right now. Fallen Order may be appearing later in the list.
I see.
As well.
I'm looking forward to talking to you about it on a regular episode, because I have finished it.
You've been playing it over Christmas, haven't you?
Yes, I have finished it. It's not in my top 5,
Yeah.
but I look forward to discussing it with you properly on next week's podcast, because I went on a tear, Peter.
Yeah.
I finished like 5 games over Christmas.
God, I finished 0
mental.
games over Christmas.
Absolutely mental. One of those games I've finished is my number 4.
Oh, okay.
It's After Party.
Oh, what's that?
I did it. It's the game I've spoken about several times, about wanting to buy.
Okay.
It's from the people who did Oxenfree.
Oh, that one. I forgot the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about sort of a couple of college kids who are at their graduation, and then it turns out that they died.
Oh.
And they're in hell. And they're like, well, what the bloody hell is this then?
Yeah.
And it's basically, in its the simplest description of it, which is what I really like about both Oxenfree and this, is that it's a point-and-click adventure, but without the puzzles.
Right.
It's just a dialogue-driven. It's presented in the style of a point-and-click adventure, but it's just dialogue all the time.
Okay.
So you don't have to wander around. You have no inventory. You're not picking up the puzzle piece from behind the cash register.
Yeah.
Use puzzle piece on gelatin.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
Monkey Island, yeah.
It's literally an extremely, well, there is a little bit of choice in terms of deciding where you want to go, but it was the perfect sort of come down from playing The Outer Worlds and Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Because it was just like this.
Sprawling complex things.
Exactly. It just funnels you through. There's constant dialogue all the time. It's really well written. It's really funny. It's got a fantastic voice cast and
pretty art style as well.
Very pretty game.
Yeah.
I will say there are some performance issues in that it does stutter sometimes, which was pretty annoying. But I thought it was really good. It was really clever, and it plays with some really fun concepts of hell and demons and what the afterlife is, and the fact that it does not, despite the fact that the two people who you play as, Milo and Lola, desperately trying to outdrink the devil.
Yeah.
And to beat him in a drinking contest so that they can return to the land of the living because they don't think they deserve to have died and they don't really know why they've died. The game is not at all about how they died. Like it's all about the friends they made along the way.
Oh, the drinks they drink along the way.
But it's literally that.
Yeah.
It's really clever and really funny. There's a great mechanic where when you go to a bar and you sit down, there's an icon in the top right-hand corner, which is just sort of an empty glass, and you can order various drinks, but obviously they're all sort of hell-inspired. So there's one that's just bleach, and then in parentheses it just says, just bleach.
Right.
And they give you different sort of abilities when you're entering certain dialogue situations. So at any point when you've got a drink, you can press R2 to just have a drink of your drink. And then when you see there's sort of like an empty square, because everything's pretty much done by just walking left or right and pressing square or circle to choose between dialogue options. Right. But you can see there's an additional dialogue option, and if you have your drink, depending on what drink you've got, it'll give you different sort of things you can answer with, which will then change the course of the conversation.
Right.
Because I can't imagine the flow chart that's involved in piecing together how this game works.
Yeah.
Not just from sort of a telltale decision-based perspective, but just in terms of you said this under the influence of this alcohol.
Right.
So there was one that made me talk like a pirate.
Okay.
So I could just say pirate stuff to people.
Yeah.
There was one that made me a sports fan. So someone's like drunk way too much and has fallen over, and you can just yell touchdown at them for no reason. It's great. There's one that made me talk like a 1940s gangster.
Nice.
And it's all optional. You don't have to say any of this stuff. But I thought it was just such a brilliant follow-up. It's fourth wall breaking.
Yeah.
It's very self-aware. It's like £16.
It's not been out so long, has it? It was like last quarter of the year, maybe?
I think sort of November time.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it, and I'd highly recommend it if you just want a game you can finish in sort of 4 hours or so, and just go on a really great little adventure. And that's my fourth favourite game of the year.
I forgot that's what it was called. After
Yeah.
Party. That's a
Really
good name,
good.
actually, because it's like Afterlife, but it's a party.
Yeah. And I'll probably replay it because it's implied that when you replay it, other stuff happens,
right?
And like your characters will remember certain things. I don't know for sure, but I want to give it another playthrough. So I'll talk about it again in the future, I'm sure. But I thought it was excellent.
Very good. It's number 3.
Yeah.
Should we do the patrons first, or
how do you want to do it, peeps?
We could do patrons first from now on.
Okay.
I know I went first last time, but I'd not done my number 5. So, well, yes. Patrons voted at number 3 with 19% of the vote. The Outer Worlds. Oh, are you okay? What was that reaction noise there?
I'd like the Outer Worlds.
Yeah, it was
a lot.
a good noise.
Yeah,
okay.
it was a happy noise.
We've got some thoughts here from Rexy Adar. Mm-hmm. I had a real tough time deciding between game further up in the rankings.
That's redacted, basically.
And Outer Worlds, but I decided to give Outer Worlds a vote since game further up in the rankings is already pretty far ahead of the others. It deserves it, though.
It does. I will talk about Outer Worlds in a bit.
Yeah.
It's so good. And
really
you're going to be
playing
it soon, aren't you?
Yeah, I thought... See, I nearly started it like late November or early December, I guess. But I thought, the thing is, I'll be going away for Christmas for 2 weeks. And when it's like... I know it's not quite as big, or I'm led to believe it's not quite as big as the likes of Fallout or Elder Scrolls, but it's still a big RPG. Mm-hmm. I thought, if there's that going on, if it's that meaty... I don't want to have a 2-week break where I'm not playing any games because I didn't take my PS4 with me to my parents' place. So I've been waiting for January to play it. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. That and Untitled Goose Game are my 2 bigger games from last year that I'm still yet to sink my teeth into.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, yeah, the Outer Worlds I thought was... so good.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop playing it. I ended up taking my PS4 in the end.
Yeah.
To the hotel that I was staying in and plugged it in and just played the Outer Worlds. And yeah, absolutely brilliant game. And I will speak more about my thoughts on that in a bit. Peter, your third favorite game of hello trains. Your third favorite game of 2019.
Choo choo, it's the train. It's the CTR discussion begins right now, train.
Oh my god.
All aboard. So yeah, when CTR was announced, the Nitro,
Nitro fueled?
Yes, nitro refueled. When it was announced, I thought, oh, well, that's probably going to be up there as like my number 1 or number 2 game of the year. It's not really. It's like it's still, it's a good game. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's, as you said, it's a very good remake, very true to the original. They've added all sorts of new content that I think has enhanced the experience. Could do without all the post Naughty Dog characters, to be honest. I'm not really interested in those. But, however, I burned out on it like you did. I also have marked it down for Activision's practices as well. The fact that they waited until after all the reviews had come out in like the first month before they decided to add in microtransactions.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty dishonest. I don't know. I like the fact that they are doing these monthly Grand Prix and that it includes like always a whole new track and 1 or 2 extra characters or more sometimes. That's great, but it's that Nitro bar that you just feel like you have to grind on, even though you don't. It's not compulsory. And also the fact that, it has now become sort of a live service game. And I don't know how I feel about that. Basically, this didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to.
Right.
And for that reason, I can't give it like
the highest possible praise.
Yeah, the highest possible praise.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, I think. Yeah. In that I really enjoyed it, and it took up like a month of my life this year.
Yeah.
But then at the end of that month, I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Like it left it. I didn't finish it and think, wow, that was great. I'm going to go back to this again and again.
Yeah, me neither.
It just sort of went really hard with the live service elements, with the Grand Prix. And that's not a bad thing. But, I think it's so difficult because we talked it up at the time. We're like, this is great. I can't see any downside of this. And then like 2 months later, we were of the opposite opinion.
Yeah.
That, there's the downside.
Yeah.
I don't want to play this game anymore.
It's too much of I don't even want to say a good thing. It's the realization that maybe it wasn't quite as good. Or it is as good as it was, but it's too much of a good thing, I think.
Right.
And you're right that like other games we've already talked about or touched on, like Fallen Order, for example. I came away from that because I'd finished the game. There were other things to do with my free time, and I wasn't going to just continually replay that. But I thought, I'll come back to that. I really enjoyed that. Whereas Crash, the reason I stopped playing that is because I didn't want to play it anymore. I started to play it less and less, and then I realized like a week or 2 had gone by, I'd not played it at all, and I thought, I'm not hankering to go back to that. Yeah. I did briefly pick it back up again when the Spyro Grand Prix came out, being a Spyro fan, and then once I'd unlocked Spyro and played the new track a little bit, which I really enjoyed, and again was very true to the reignited style. And then I was done again, and that's it, really.
Spyro was the Grand Prix where I stopped. I think I was playing online with a friend in a private match to sort of grind out coins because you got your daily and your weekend bonus.
Yeah.
And when you reach that moment where you just sort of look at yourself and you think, what on earth are you doing?
Why are you gathering these
what are you doing?
Fake coins for nothing?
But he then went to bed. And I was like, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
So I stayed up because it went past midnight.
Oh.
And the challenges ticked over to the next day. Oh. So I could do my daily challenges again. And I was like, this is great. Get a head start on those. Okay, I should really go to bed now. Woke up, sat down, like just sort of waddled through to the living room on Saturday morning, sat down on the sofa, turned on the PS4. And I had other things to play, but I instinctively started up Crash. And I was like, well, this is easy, and I'll just quickly work my way through some more challenges. Did like one challenge, and then I just felt this overwhelming feeling of, I can't be bothered to do this ever again.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. Which is a shame because it's still a great fun game to boot up and play local co-op. But all the other, and I don't know if this is necessarily a failing of Activision or if it's just a reflection of myself or the state that the industry is in.
Yeah,
or whatever, but I just don't think Crash Team Racing really lends itself to anything other than it's not a single player game.
Yeah.
You know, it always had a single player component, but once the novelty's worn off, you're never going to, I'm not going to in 2 years' time boot it back up and go, I'm going to play adventure mode again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that because I don't have to anymore. It's not like my only game that I have, as it was when I had a PS1.
Yeah.
So it's just different, and it's interesting to see how they've tried to retrofit, modern day stuff into a very old game. And it kind of works for a bit, but then sort of turns into a Frankenstein's monster, where actually I don't really want to play it anymore.
The online multiplayer component as well, it wasn't. They should have just had a matchmaking aspect to it, where it knows how well you perform and your average time around certain tracks, and therefore it can put people together who are going to have a really good, a really good race together. I always felt like, I didn't always come in last because there was always like a couple of people in there who've probably not had the game very long. So I always did okay, but I always came in like fifth, tops, and it was like, I'm not a sore loser, and I'm like, no, I won't play this game unless I can come first every time. But I just felt like, no, but there's no challenge for me because I just know that I'm never going to get as far ahead as like the people in first and second. Yeah. So there's no realistic challenge that I have any hope of being able to overcome. So I never really played any multiplayer. I did a tiny bit for like a few challenges, and that was it.
Yeah.
Matchmaking.
Multiplayer was a big issue with that. Towards the end of me bothering to play online at all was people completing a lap or completing the race before anyone else had finished.
Yeah.
And then the 60-second countdown timer would come and go, and nobody else would, like, people would finish in second by default.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't be able to cross the finish line fast enough. Once in online, once you get away, you're gone.
Yeah.
Nobody can touch you unless you just stop playing. And some people are so good that they will go online, win a race, and nobody will finish second because it times out because they're that far ahead, and that's not good.
And good luck to them, but put 8 of those people
put 8 of those people together, all those god tier players. We can't all be like them.
Yeah.
Anyway, these guys are being a bit negative, aren't they? Let's move on.
Yeah, for Peter's number 3 spot.
To my number 3 game of the year. Can you quickly whisper to me what your number 2 is, just in case? Okay, all right, that's fine. Because I thought maybe we could combine. But what we can do is combine my number 3 with the Patreon voted number 2. Because my number 3, my third favorite game of 2019 is Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Ooh, okay.
And that's also, with 20% of the vote, the Patreon voted number 2 game of the year.
Yeah.
So Resi 2 Remake. I don't like Resi games until 2019, when actually I do like Resi games.
God.
Resi 2 in particular is one of those games that I cite as being a scarring moment.
The reason that you don't like horror things, or one of the first realizations you had that you don't like horror stuff. Yeah.
Went to my cousin's house with my other cousin, who wasn't the cousin that lived in that house. He wasn't there. I think our parents were visiting his mum or whatever. Went upstairs. He's got a chipped PS1 with loads of like just CDs that are just unmarked.
Yeah.
Put one in. Oh, this one's got zombies on it. Don't really know what zombies are. Let's give this a go. Start it up. Get through the first cutscene. Already terrified.
Yeah.
Then get to the tank control blue shirt wearing man as he tries to run through the car park.
Street.
Yeah. Don't know how to shoot. Don't know really how to move or interact with stuff. Get captured by zombies, get eaten alive, it says you're dead, and then I was dead.
Forever.
Ruined me. Nightmares for weeks. Couldn't do it. And then you flash forward to 2019. Holy crap, what a phenomenal game.
Still very scary.
Yeah.
Scarier than the old one, I would say.
I think that shows personal growth.
Yes.
I've come a long way since whenever that
you have
was.
Done. The sound design in that game, like the actual screamy, groany noises that some of the zombies make. I remember really vividly that in that little flooded, if you walk into the police department through the front door and turn right, there's like a dark, flooded corridor with flickery lights.
Yeah.
And there happened to be this, I think her legs were missing because I'd like already had a fight with her, or she was certainly crawling along the floor. There was this like screamy lady zombie in there. And at the time, I didn't have any ammo. So I had to run past her and go and do all my business that I was doing. And by the time I was coming back, although I'd found ammo over there, I'd used it all. So I was coming past again. She was still there with the same voice sound effects. I had to run past her again with no ammo. And I just started to associate that corridor with, oh, that's where the legless, screamy lady lives.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And,
Awful.
God, yeah, the sound alone in that game is wonderful stuff.
We both, and I imagine this is one of the games you enjoyed
Yes.
a lot, so we'll talk about that again in a minute. But we played through it on stream.
Yes, we
and
did.
it was basically our New Game Plus run, wasn't it? Because we both played as did we both play as Welcome Leon the first time?
I played as Welcome Leon first.
Yeah, I think we both played as Welcome Leon
Yeah.
the first time through in our respective homes.
Yeah.
But then once you finish it, you can play, because you can play as, I can't even remember, it's Jill, right? No, not
Welcome
Jill.
Claire.
I've been playing Resi 5.
Yeah.
Which has Jill in it.
Jill.
Claire.
Claire.
Jill, no. Yeah, Claire. So you can play as Claire or Leon. And once you've finished your playthrough with one, you can then do a New Game Plus run with the other character, but things are different and items are in different places.
Yeah, and some of it depends on how you played the first time round, so I'm told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have slightly diverging paths anyway in terms of characters they bump into and stuff.
Yeah.
So we played through that on stream, and the full playthrough's up on the channel if you want to watch it. And that was so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just really good. I can't wait to see what they do with Resi 3 because
Yeah.
that's another one that I just obviously didn't go near. But I know a fair amount about, thanks to the long list we did about every playable Resident Evil character ranked from worst to best, which you should definitely go and watch, please.
Yeah. So that's your number 3,
Yes,
but also it's the patrons' number 2, as you said.
it certainly is.
So we can just read their thoughts on it. It has 20% of the vote, and here's some thoughts. Mancomb Seepgood says,
Didn't we determine that was a Guybrush Threepwood sort
Pun
of,
name,
yes,
sort of.
spooky joke man?
said, Resident Evil 2. It showed a combination of nostalgia and a solid team recreating it can produce it. Yeah, it showed that a combination of nostalgia and a solid team recreating it can produce a contender for Game of the Year. Brilliant achievement. Tanner said, I wanted Outer Worlds. Wife wanted Resi 2, so our vote is Resi 2. They only had one vote between them. Jennifer McDonnell said, I went with Resi 2 Remake. The nostalgia factor plus the great time my friend and I had playing through it. Many happy memories indeed. Do you want to read the other 3?
Yes, and I agree with Jennifer there because I played through it both times actually with a friend.
Yeah.
Which I think makes it way more fun, to be honest, if you have a spectator or you're sort of passing the controller back and forth.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's the best way. It's probably the only way, but it's also the best way to experience horror games for me.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay now with scary parts of non-horror games. You know, The Last of Us can be pretty spooky.
Yeah.
What's it called? The Order 1886
Yeah.
has plenty of quite unnerving areas, and Metro Last Light, I think, just throws you into a corridor full of demon things at one point.
Okay.
So I can handle the spooks, but I do find with games like this, it's way more fun if there are a few of you watching it on the sofa.
I don't think I would have played Outlast if not
No,
for us playing it
absolutely
together
not.
on
No,
stream.
100%. You even go back to the launch of the PS4 when that was one of the first PS Plus games. And my cousin came over, the one who had Resi 2, and I had it downloaded just because I didn't have many games. I was like, oh, look at all these games I've got.
Yeah.
Just to populate the dashboard. And started it up. He played through like the first little bit where you go into that room, there's loads of dead soldiers like all decapitated on the floor, and I just completely overrided his decision. I was like, nope, that's it.
We're not playing this.
Not touching it. So since then, I've actually come almost full circle.
Yeah.
In that I played some of it.
Yes. Yes.
That's all I could do. Yes, the remainders of the people who voted and spoke out in the comments. Robin Lau voting for RE2 Remake because Death Stranding isn't there.
Oh, sorry,
Death Stranding didn't even come close.
No, it
I'm
didn't.
So proud.
Maybe because they
of
know
our
what we
listeners.
think of it. Maybe no one voted.
Well, I thought
for it.
people would do it intentionally.
Right.
But remember that this wasn't just us choosing what we think are the best games of the year and then
No.
getting people to vote. The list of things that people could vote on was taken directly from people's own Game of the Year's list.
Yeah.
And Death Stranding was only in a couple of people's lists. So, sorry, Robin. Jim Johns, JJ, 2 first
Names.
There we go.
3 first names because it's John's. I've done that
Yes,
before.
there we go.
3 first
Excellent.
names.
Resident Evil 2 Remake is the only game I played this year that I finished multiple playthroughs back to back since God of War. Don't forget to remake Code Veronica next, please, Capcom.
Well, next is 3, but I guess you mean after that.
After that, yeah. I'm all up for the classic Resi games getting the modern day makeover.
Yeah.
Apart from some of the PS3 games weren't that good. Anyway, I said that already. Philip Reed, RE2, because it did everything right.
Yes, it did.
I agree. I don't think there was really anything I can say that was wrong with Resident Evil 2 Remake.
No.
I think it was excellent.
Well, that's why it might be coming later in my list.
Do you want to do your number 2?
My number
Peter?
2. Oh, so you know now which 2 are coming later in my list. It's Star Wars and Resi.
Oh, okay, but which one comes first?
I'm a big Star Wars fan, but Star Wars is number 2.
Star Wars is number 2?
It's number 2.
Oh my God.
I thought Resi, as we'll get onto shortly, was pretty much flawless. Like, I can't actually... that's exactly what I think, what Philip Reed says. It did everything right. I can't really think of any problems with it. Whereas Star Wars... There were a couple of things that I thought, it's not really like exactly how I would have made this, but it was certainly a really, really good game in my opinion. The only thing really that I didn't enjoy so much was the really big sprawling levels with lots of like interconnecting, lifts and ropes and, ledges and stuff. It was very Soulsborne style, which I'm not very well versed with. I'm not very good at like trying to keep all that in my head. And although you have that 3D map, like you can sort of see sometimes you can see where you are and where you want to be and the actual areas that you need to pass through to get there. But to actually get to those areas from one to the next isn't always super obvious because there's a bit of like hidden wall running involved or like ropes that you need to swing on that you don't always notice. So there were a few puzzles that I got stuck on and things like that. So I feel like the pacing wasn't as high as it should have been for me because I would occasionally just be sort of stuck in a room for a while going, where do I go? What do I do? There's a bit where you have to like chuck a there's like a room with a waterfall and you have to get some fire around the side of the waterfall to like burn a chain or something like that. And I was in there for ages. I actually had to look up the solution to that because I can't really describe where it was or when it was, but anyway, there was one room where I was in there for a very long time and getting really frustrated. I listened to all the hints and still had no idea. I knew what I had to do, but not how I would do it.
Right.
But that's all I can say negatively about Fallen Order. I thought like I really enjoyed what it did in relation to the saga. It did some connections there. And what do you think? What were your thoughts?
I don't want to drag it down, Peter.
It's okay. You can. I want to hear I want you to tell me, like what you didn't like about it, or you can tell me what you did like about it if you don't want to tell me what you didn't.
I liked that.
Not much.
No. I liked that there were various locations. I liked the fact you got to go around on a ship. I enjoyed the sort of the transition when you would go like take off from a planet and then suddenly fog would appear.
Yeah.
Suddenly.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good game. I didn't really enjoy it as much as I was hoping I would.
Right.
I felt like it was sort of a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Yeah.
I felt like the combat was not very good. It's
really?
Dark Souls-esque, but does not have the refinement that Dark Souls has. Like the hitboxes are insane. The attack tracking, when an enemy locks onto you and you dodge and you can see them rotate as they do their attacks, they hit you anyway.
Yeah.
I found it really frustrating.
Right.
The only way I found myself enjoying it and getting through it in the end was to put it down onto story mode difficulty.
Well, I played it through on story mode, to be fair. Like I didn't actually play it with any level of difficulty whatsoever.
Right. Well, once I did that,
Yeah.
I felt like I know that he's meant to be a Padawan that escaped the Order 66, so he's not fully trained. But I felt rubbish.
Right.
He felt like a rubbish Jedi who was just weak and getting knocked out by bugs.
Yeah.
And it was stupid. And I fell through the world constantly.
Oh, really?
I thought it was really buggy and glitchy, and there was just a complete lack of polish that I found really surprising. So I think it was good. And I'm sure we'll have a proper discussion about it on the next week's podcast. And I'm so glad that it's a decent Star Wars game.
Right.
Like, I don't think it's bad at all, but I feel the same way about this game as I did about, what's it called? Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth? Shadow of Mordor. Battle for Middle-earth.
That was the RTS.
Yeah, it was an RTS.
That's quite good, actually.
Yeah, I liked that one. My friends loved that. Shut up about that one. Shadow of Mordor, not Shadow of War, the sequel, the first one.
Right.
Because it had the Nemesis system in. It was the first decent Lord of the Rings game for a long time.
Yeah.
People were going mental about it. I remember it won Push Square's Game of the Year, and I played it a few months after and thought, I don't, like, this is fine.
Right.
I don't really understand all the hype around it. And it's a similar situation here where I can see everything it does right.
Yeah.
I really like what they've done with it. I could happily play a sequel if it had that, because this could have done, I think this could have come out in February and been a much better game if they had enough time to polish it, because there was just a lot of weird texture stuff, characters like flickering in and out of existence a lot.
Yeah, I might be on record. This might be going against what I've said. Okay. Definitely, I had major performance issues, but I don't recall it being too buggy. I think once or twice an actual buggy thing happened where someone like sort of flipped around or something like that. But most of it for me was the frame rate was pretty dire at times. And yeah, there was a lot of texture popping, which I didn't like. There was that one bug where in the significant cutscene near the very end of the game where there's like a major moment where they tie it into the saga in some way. There was the sound of a spinning thrown lightsaber just going vroom 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 vroom, like almost over the top of like a death scene, an emotional moment. So that was annoying. But I mean, like I say, there's a reason why I've not put it at number one. You know, I did really enjoy it being a Star Wars fan. And there was a lot about it that I did like. And having it on story mode, I think, did help me feel like a more powerful Jedi. Yeah. I think that
You got a lightsaber. People shouldn't be able to take 2 hits with a lightsaber. A goat shouldn't take 2 hits with a lightsaber.
Right, yeah.
But then how do you get around that to make it a game? You know?
You could just lightly poke at anything and it would probably, at least fall down completely incapacitated, if not die immediately.
When I properly started, when I felt right, so I didn't not enjoy this game.
Yeah.
But when I properly felt like it got into its groove, it took a good few hours to get there, and it was once I'd got all the powers, because I was so. Because you compared it to Dark Souls, and it is like Dark Souls in its sort of Metroidvania-style environment.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the Lego games as well in that sense, where you just see things you're not allowed to do yet because you don't have the right character or the right power.
And it's even got blue force stuff glowing around. Like, you see a crumbling door.
Right.
And you're like, I know I'm going to push that down at some point.
You just expect to unlock a mini kit or something, or a blue stud, whatever, gold brick. And... I like Dark Souls usually is pretty good about that stuff, in that if you see a door, usually you can either open it or that's the shortcut to come back through later. Whereas in this, I was endlessly frustrated by going to I can't cite any specific examples, but this happened time and time again. Say, for example, you're going into a cave, there's 3 ways to go.
Yeah.
1 way you're allowed to go, 2 ways you will walk all the way down, and there's something you can't do yet, and then you will come all the way back. And I just felt like it completely broke up sort of the flow of the game, similar to what you said with the puzzles, because I got stuck on a few as well, where I was just like, this is meant to be some time-sensitive mission.
Yeah.
And he's pushing balls around.
Yeah.
What's he doing? And that was the point where I realized it didn't so much evoke Uncharted for me as it did the new Tomb Raider games.
Right.
Which obviously in and of themselves evoke Uncharted.
Yeah.
Which evokes the old Tomb Raider games. But it was sort of that level of... It didn't have the Naughty Dog polish of its puzzles that didn't, because people who've seen me stream Uncharted know that I get stuck on them all the time, the Uncharted puzzles. But then you're never there for longer than 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
Something's always happening. There's always stuff going on. Whereas this game would have a crazy set piece and then slow right down.
Yeah.
And you'd be, as you said, in a room playing with balls for a bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great game, but I wish it was better. It has so much potential, and I really hope that when they do a sequel, that they give them the time to properly polish it before they put it out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that when I've played the Outer Worlds, it will be above Star Wars in my list.
Right.
I just, I can't fairly say that right now. But yeah, that's my number 2.
I'm sorry to drag it down like that.
No, don't.
I was just keeping my mouth shut when the patrons talked about it, because I was like, I'll wait until the podcast when we can. This is meant to be a positive thing.
Yeah.
This is a positive show. And all we're doing is saying everything we dislike about the games we've chosen.
Well, all I was saying was why it wasn't number 1 for me.
Right.
But yeah, I think for the most part, I really enjoyed it, and I will go back and play it again. And I'm just, as you say, I'm so glad that they've done a well-received single-player Star Wars game, because hopefully they'll do more.
Well, speaking of something that may well be above your number 2,
Yeah.
when you get around to playing it, my number 2 is The Outer Worlds.
Oh, well, there you go.
There we are.
Yeah.
The Outer Worlds, I've now finished it. It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
It is Fallout New Vegas in space.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant. I read every terminal and spoke to every person and went in every house and did every quest, I think, apart from the ones that I locked myself off from doing.
Right.
But it's just got such a wicked sense of humor about itself, in that you can do some pretty dark and messed up things in this game, and I just think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was open world, but not Fallout open world.
Right.
You just load into various maps, and there are some that are bigger than others, but they're really not crazy big. You know, it's not like one huge world which just goes on forever. Sometimes you'll go to a planet, and it's just a town,
right?
And that's the map.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is great. I don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of
yeah.
things I've got to do. So there was a very sort of procedural way that I went about playing this game, where I'd finish up any quests I could from a particular area. Mm-hmm. Then I'd go to a new area, talk to everyone, get all the quests, and then make my way through all of them before continuing with the main story.
Right.
I did all of that, and the game clocked in maybe about 25, 30 hours.
Right, yeah.
So if you fly through it, you can just do it. You know, you can just get it done. But the world was so interesting and put together. And we talk time and time again about how important writing is to both of us in terms of making us care about a game and its world and its characters. And I think the Outer Worlds is so good. I'm just annoyed that I waited so long to play it because of Death Stranding,
right?
Which is what got in the way of me finishing it before we took the Christmas break. But it's got single player DLC coming this year. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side of the fence you fall, Obsidian is now owned by Microsoft.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance I won't be able to play any potential sequels to this. But equally, Microsoft are sort of softening up their approach to having their exclusive games on other platforms. So it may well be that they just publish it and it's released on the PS5 anyway.
And the fact that the first one was on PS4... it's maybe slightly more likely that they'll be willing to share.
I'd like to think they'd learn from their mistakes with, what was it, Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider, whichever one it was. The last Tomb Raider, all the Star Wars, the Tomb Raider Awakens, all of them. Revenge of the Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider...
Attack of the Tomb Raider.
Return of the Tomb Raider. The Phantom Raider.
The
Phantom Raider.
Yeah, Revenge of the Raider. We've done that one. A new Raider.
Raider.
The Raider Strikes Back.
Yeah. The Empire Strikes the Tomb Raider.
Rogue Raiders.
Yeah. Rogue Traders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, The Outer Worlds, I think. Fantastic game. Really, really liked it. And I'm so glad that I found the time to go through it properly. And I'd recommend everybody do the same if you haven't played it yet.
Fantastic. Well, we're here. I just wanted to hear you do that for a while, to be honest.
Sorry.
It's number 1. It's time for number 1 from me, from you, and from the patrons first. With 22% of the vote, Untitled Goose Game is the patrons' number
our
1
bloody patrons.
game of the year.
Look at them. Look, what a spectacular bunch of people they are.
TripleJump patrons game of the year
2019.
Yeah, they can put that on the box. Untitled Goose Game.
Untitled Goose Game. Have you started it?
No, I've not. I've seen a little bit of it, and I'm going to play it on my PS4.
I'm sorry?
This month. My PS4.
Your PS4.
My PS4. But no, I've not physically played any of it.
It's an utter delight.
Yes.
I didn't put it in my top 5, and I don't want people to think at the start of the show when I said, well, No, I didn't really have to make any decisions about my top 5. All just sort of fell into
were
place. The
crap.
rest were rubbish. I didn't think Untitled Goose Game was rubbish at all. I thought it was spectacular.
Yeah.
But when weighed up against the other games, I just felt like I wanted to, because I played thing is, Untitled Goose Game's fantastic, right? Thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Loved it. I can't wait for Untitled Goose Game 2. Untitled Goose Game. Untitled Geese Game.
Yes.
But I finished it in one stream and then it was out of my mind.
Yeah.
And that was it. And whereas the other games that I've spoken about in my top 5 stuck with me, or I played for a considerable amount of time. And I know by its very nature, Untitled Goose Game isn't a very long game.
Yeah.
But I didn't include it in mine just because it didn't stick in my memory quite as long.
enough.
But it's fantastic. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's a really good game. I think it's fantastic, and I want you to tell me all about why it's so fantastic, Peter.
Well, I can't tell you. I can't tell you, but I can tell you why other people think it's so fantastic.
Well, then that'll have to do.
Don't ask me.
God.
Rob Clark, 2 first names, says, I wanted to play Untitled Goose Game so much, I downloaded it on my Switch while driving up the M1 on my way to Scotland the day it came out. Loved every minute of it. It's the only game this year I can't fault.
Rob.
Sounds dangerous.
Yeah, we hope you weren't driving or were in the passenger seat or pulled over or something.
Tyon,
Yes.
I think, says, I love Untitled Goose Game because its humour unfolds so simply. It feels satisfying to complete each puzzle and overall left me simply feeling happy after playing it. Stephen Hartley, I'm voting Untitled Goose Game. It's always refreshing to see games that are different to the norm given a chance, rather than just companies churning out sequels, reboots, and remakes. Been a lot of those in our top 5.
Actually have, yeah. We should have noticed that.
Yeah.
Henry Brody, Untitled Goose Game is like Hitman with a goose, and I think that's just brilliant.
It is, yes.
Matt Fox, because Goose Game. Need I say more?
No.
Duncan's Wilson, Untitled Goose Game. It reminded me of the quirky games I used to play as a kid on the Spectrum.
Don't say that, please.
I find indie games appeal to me more than AAA games, smiley face.
Oh.
And finally, Nicholas Negropontis, great name. Goose.
That's what Nicholas says, just Goose.
Goose.
With 3 O's. Goose.
Goose. Peter.
Yeah.
I think I know what makes Untitled Goose Game so special.
Yeah.
We were talking about this in the office yesterday about sort of reactionary games.
With James.
With
Untitled
James.
Goose James.
Untitled Juice James.
Yes.
Sort of streamable games, shareable games, YouTube games like Goat Sim or Surgeon Simulator.
Yes.
Sort of absurd games that don't really have any substance, but they're developed to sort of, in an attempt to create buzz and be shareable.
Free advertising.
And
YouTube.
all the power to the developers, obviously, because respective developers have done incredibly well off those 2 examples I just gave. But Untitled Goose Game is not only incredibly good to react to, but it's got real substance as well.
Right.
It's got real depth. There's real heart to this game. You don't just mess around.
Yeah.
You have clear objectives to complete, and you have basically 5 or 6 different areas where you annoy someone so much that you are permitted to move on to another area to keep annoying people. And I think that just makes it very special and makes it stand apart from the other games that it might be unfairly lumped in with. That's why it's such a sort of a darling game, an internet darling game.
It is. The thing with Surgeon Sim and Goat Sim are they're quite sort of gratuitous and a bit in your face with either gore or just silly violence. Whereas I know Untitled Goose Game is certainly very chaotic, but it also, with its like visual style, it has a sort of quaint prettiness about it as well. It's not just like, oh, look at all these explosions and blood.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to want to play this on YouTube, aren't you, you suckers?
You idiot. It's not like a goose wearing a Rambo bandana wielding a shotgun.
Exactly.
Or something. Yeah.
No, it's much more nuanced than that.
Understated.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very, very special game, a very special breed of game that's managed to bridge the gap between independently developed gem, because it's a really good game, and shareable, memey YouTube stuff. Like, it's transcended all sorts of platforms this year. That we've covered it in various news stories. There was the streamer who dressed up as a goose and made his own costume. It's just, you see the Goose in all of the memes.
There was
all
that
of them.
remote control Goose that I don't even know what awards ceremony it was. I just saw the GIF, but it was like on a red carpet event. Some guy was dressed as the farmer, and he had an RC Goose. I think it was an awards ceremony. I think it was. Maybe
That's
it was just a
fantastic.
convention somewhere, but yeah.
Congratulations then to House, developers of the Patreon, and therefore, if you don't support this statement, then support us on Patreon.
Yeah.
Listener voted Game of the Year 2019.
Yeah.
The TripleJump listener voted Game of the Year 2019.
Yeah.
Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Honk.
Peter.
Yeah. Oh, he's doing it again. The gorilla chest. My number one, you know it. It's Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Hey! I mean,
I think that game is pretty much flawless. I defy anyone to come at me with a major drawback to that game.
I have one.
Yeah?
The fact that you can't enable 1,000 times facial animations as a cheat.
If only, yeah. That would be good.
Those videos are astonishingly good.
They are.
Also, Thomas the Tank Engine mod as a cheat for Mr. X. When's that?
What?
When?
When? Oh, as a cheat.
As a cheat.
Well, he's a mod.
When DLC?
You can get him as a mod.
But I don't have a PC.
On PC? Well, you do have a PC.
Well, I mean a work PC.
Yeah, play it at work.
I'm not going to do that.
Do
I've got to work at work.
Well, stay after and play.
No. Tell me about why else it's so good.
God, visually, it's stunning. Like, the graphics are great, you know? And a lot of the games we've talked about today, I think it's probably one of the best looking games of the year in terms of actual photorealism.
Yeah, games that have gone for photorealism for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Also, I hate Cal's face. Sorry.
Oh, I hate Cal's
Jedi
face.
Fallen Order. He's a real guy. He's awful, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I totally
Bloody
agree with
hell.
that.
Sorry, carry
I
on.
said that at the time, I hate Cal's face.
He's rubbish.
Someone
so punchable, isn't he?
Whose face I don't hate is Leon Kennedy.
Whoa.
What a sexy man.
Yeah.
I would say that Claire's sexy, but that would be sexist.
That you can't say that.
No, you can only say it about men.
How about the...
That's not sexist.
How about the detective, the deputy, the sheriff, what's he called?
The one with the body on
The police
his desk.
chief.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Hot
a sexy stud right there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mr. X.
Mr. X. He's
forget about
enormous. Yeah. It's just such a good game in every way. Like, it appeals to, new players can go and sit down and play it without having to ever have played any Resi before whatsoever. People who have played either other Resi games or actual Resident Evil 2 back in the day can sit down and play it and both enjoy it nostalgically, but also have all kinds of expectations subverted. Such as, like, I, for example, knew where the liquor appears for the first time. I'm playing as Kennedy, and I get to that corner, and you see a guy whose jaw has been sort of licked open and, like, split, and you're like, here it is, it's going to be here. It wasn't there. And then it surprises you much later on. So, all those sorts of moments where you think, oh, this is where that thing happens, and the thing doesn't happen at all. I think that's great. All the extra stuff as well. Do you know what? I've not actually played any of the, I want to say Mercenaries, or it's called that in Resi 4. It's probably not called that in this. But all those extra stories where you play as different characters.
Oh, yeah. The Forgotten Files or something.
Yeah.
Case files. I can't remember what
There's all kinds of, like, bonus stuff that you get to play. And, God, I've not even touched those yet. And I sort of forgot that I'd not done those. I want to go home and play it right now.
You get to play as the body on the sexy police chief's desk.
You get to play as...
But before she was a body.
Kendo's gun shop.
Kendo Calrissian.
You get to play as the gun shop
You do,
itself.
run around as the gun shop. You get to play as Hunk, obviously.
You do. There's Tofu Survivor
the
as well.
Tiramisu mode, yeah.
Yeah, delicious.
Fantastic.
So you held back on your thoughts when it was earlier on in the list. What do you think of Resi 2?
Yeah, I just think it was brilliant.
Yeah.
That's you hit the nail on the head. I think with the main thing I liked so much about this. Obviously, I didn't play Resi 2 when it originally came out.
Right.
But the fact that it was a remake that played with people's understanding of what was meant to happen when.
Yeah.
I think it's just genius. I mean, that you should do that as a horror game anyway.
Yeah.
And having recently played through in co-op Resident Evil 5 for the first time because I got that super cheap.
Yeah.
You encounter lickers in that game, and they have come so far in terms of understanding what horror is.
Yeah.
Because it's just night and day. The lickers in Resi 5 are just cannon fodder, really.
Right.
There's a lot of them. It's like the Aliens film, where there's just Alien versus Predator. Or what was it? Aliens Colonial Marines, sorry.
Yeah.
Were you just killing aliens all the time? It's
There's
like,
loads
what?
of them, and it's like, oh, okay.
It's just rubbish.
Fine,
Yeah, none of them mean anything. Whereas, they really make their enemies count. And, the redhead zombies or whatever they're called, where you kill them earlier in the game, and then if you don't burn them later on, they come back or whatever it is. Spooky stuff. Yeah. I think it's just a phenomenal game.
It is.
I would have been happy with it being completely set within the police station, and honestly, I kind of thought that was what I thought it was.
Right.
It was just set in the police station, like Resi 1 was set in the mansion.
Yeah.
But of course, you leave the mansion at some point, and you leave the police station in this one too.
You do. I had played the original one a long time ago. I'd played it through. I don't even know if I completed it, but yeah, I barely remembered it. I knew a lot more about the police station sections, like where the liquor comes in and, some of the stuff that goes on there. So yeah, it was nice that I was able to appreciate it from both sides in that respect. So for the latter half of the game, really, I was like, I don't really know what's going to happen at this point. Like even the broad strokes of the story, I don't really know what's going to be going on. But yeah, equally, the bits that I did sort of have a bit of an understanding of going in, I was able to really enjoy those moments too. So yeah, they just did everything right.
Yeah,
a lot could have gone wrong with that game actually, and it didn't. So I'm looking forward to Resi 3 now.
Yeah.
Remake.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think Resi 2 was phenomenal. Really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
Just almost flawless.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
That's Peter Austin's Game of the Year.
What is your
2019.
Almost flawless or potentially completely flawless Game of the Year?
Let's try this again. Peter, what's my Game of the Year?
Right. You don't want those adjectives in there. Ben, what's your Game of the Year? Are you asking me to guess?
No, I'm asking you to guess.
Oh, to guess?
Because you know what it is.
Well, I suppose it must be Borderlands 3.
I suppose it might be.
I suppose it might be.
Borderlands 3.
But would you like me to redact those adjectives or not? Do you think it's near flawless?
What, Borderlands 3?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
What's your Game of the Year?
Borderlands 3.
Okay.
Borderlands 3 is my Game of the Year.
Right.
How could it be anything else? I imagine most people probably could have guessed from the very beginning that it was going to be that. In fact,
I wasn't sure it was,
as soon as it was announced. I just feel
I knew you
like
played a lot of it.
I'm still playing it.
You were excited to play it and stuff, but that's not always the mark of a
No, it's not.
of a Game of the Year.
I don't know really what else I can say about this game that I haven't said every week for almost a year now. I think that there are things wrong with it, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that it was sort of a difficult sequel after Borderlands 2, especially waiting so long. I don't think the writing was as good as Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
But I think the game itself is everything I've been waiting for. And usually, I mean, some years the games that stick with you usually are ones that come at important moments in your life.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to get too serious right now
About this.
But 2019 was a tough year in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And Borderlands really helped.
Oh.
And Borderlands 3 was sort of the, I don't know, like the emergency cherry that redeemed the plop cake.
Oh no!
If that's a metaphor that makes any sense at all.
No, but I think putting a cherry on the plop cake makes the plop even better. I think it's just
it made the plop more digestible. Let's put it that way. The plop cake had to be consumed because it was the year I was in sort of inhabiting. But the nice game cake, the nice game cherry, the Borderlands cherry, helped it go down.
Less of plop.
It helped it go down.
A little bit more of cherry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've had various things through the years, as everybody has, the various pieces of media, music, a particular album, a particular film, a TV show, something that you remember from that time that helped you through a crap moment in your life. And Borderlands Game of the Year edition was that at the beginning of the year, and then Borderlands 3 picked up the slack immediately. So there was never a time when I was playing Borderlands 3 and wasn't having fun.
Good.
There are things about it that annoyed me and things about it that I wish were better, but that's only speaking as a super fan of Borderlands in general. That's me, some of it's not me nitpicking. The menus should work for a start, but they're better now, which is nice. And I've got the season pass as well, and the first proper DLC was really good, and so I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. I think Borderlands 3 may not have been critically the best game that was released last year that I played.
Right.
But I think it was the most important one.
Yeah.
And that's why it is my GOTY.
Your GOTY?
Game of the Year.
I see.
GOTY.
Your GOTY.
Got it, GOTY.
That's partly why, I don't want to go back on it for too long, but that's partly why Star Wars is as high as it is for me.
Right.
I also know that it's actually quite a flawed game. And I've talked about the flaws earlier on in other podcasts and videos and stuff. But yeah, sometimes these games go higher up in a list for other reasons.
Sentimental, personal reasons.
Yeah, exactly. I really like Star Wars. I was in a big Star Wars vibe at the time in my head and enjoying on every bit of Star Wars media I could. So that helped. So yeah, and sometimes it can be a game helps you through something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We talk about Spider-Man a lot and how much we think Spider-Man is one of the best exclusives on PlayStation, which it is, obviously. But critically, it's not up there. It's like 85 because ultimately it's an open world game with collectibles.
Yeah, it's Assassin's Creed with web swinging.
Pretty much, if you want to distill it down.
Yeah.
But it's just, sometimes there are aspects of a game beyond the critical element that really speak to you and that really stick with you. And for me, that was Borderlands this year.
Well, we've said before, to take Spider-Man as an example, that game, if you weren't being Spider-Man, if it was exactly the same game, but you were just Mr. Rope Arms,
and
you could throw
Bionic
ropes out,
Commando,
then it wouldn't be as good. But it's just because you're Spider-Man. And you can look at how critically acclaimed it is and be like, oh, well, should I really be saying it's like one of the best games on the PS4? Well, I'm Spider-Man, I don't care.
Yeah. If you took the Hideo Kojima name off the box of Death Stranding, if you took the Norman Reedus off the box of Death Stranding, and it was Jeremy's Death Stranding starring Bob from the pub.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be. I mean, that's an unfair comparison, but you know what I mean. Like there are certain elements that raise a game for people. Like this is a positive for Death Stranding. I'm not taking the piss out. I'm kind of taking the piss, but
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, like there are elements to games that elevate them for certain people.
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima's involvement in Death Stranding undeniably has had that effect, and the fact that Spider-Man is the guy you're swinging around with and not Rope Boy is another reason. And the fact that I had a bit of a rough year and Borderlands 3 was there for me made that even better than it already was. Exactly. And I still think it's a very good game.
Yeah.
But I don't think it, we talked about Resi 2, and that game's got nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah.
So, there we go. Those are our Games of the Year, and also the Patreon voted Games of the Year as well. If you're listening to this thinking, man, I wish I could have gotten involved in that, $1 a month if you want to get involved with the podcast side of things. There are other tiers, obviously, Peter, aren't there? But they are at a higher financial requirement.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get all sorts of things like you can watch Worst Games Ever early. You can access a special room in our Discord. We do Discord chats and stuff. If you're a wild $100 donor, you get a signed Worst Games Ever and a bunch of other, I don't want to say tat.
Knickknacks.
Knickknacks, thank you.
Signed knickknacks.
Signed knickknacks and a photo and all the stuff in the lower tiers beneath that.
Yeah.
But if you want to get involved in the podcast, and if maybe next year you're wanting to vote on this, if you're listening, Hideo, then that's just a $1 tier.
I think Jeff's listening. Jeff will tell him.
Jeff will.
His best friend, Jeff.
Yeah.
Bob
from the pub.
Bob from the pub, absolutely. Yeah. Jeremy's Death Stranding, starring Bob from the pub.
Bob from the pub.
I'm still Bob from the pub. Used to have a little, now I have a lub.
A lub, yeah.
Anyway, the point is, thank you so much for, again, all of your support last year, if you've been with us for a little while. Patreon not only allows you to get involved in the show, but also it really helps us.
Oh, yeah.
More than we can put into words. It's the reason, it's a big reason we're still here, for a start.
And that we didn't die after 12 months.
So while $1 is all you need to get involved in the show, you can donate as much as you want per month. It's totally up to you. But yes, the podcast will return to its normal running order next week. and we'll be putting out a post at the beginning of the week asking for questions.
Yeah.
So if you have anything you want to ask and you're not a patron, now might be the time to consider doing that. Patreon.com/Team Triple Jump. Speaking of Team Triple Jump, Peter, where can people go, Peter, to find us elsewhere, Peter?
Team Triple Jump, Ben. YouTube.com and twitch.tv/Team Triple Jump is where all of our content goes out, our videos and our streams and things. We've got mods over there, Lord Brotovich and Cecil Prumps, who look after streams on both Twitch and YouTube. Our social medias are twitter.com and facebook.com/Team Triple Jump. Our social media man, Luke Eldon, is looking after Facebook for us. Thank you, Luke. There's lots of old people who are grateful for what you're doing. I shouldn't say that because he does good work.
He does good work.
And we have young Facebook users.
We do. There are also plenty of obnoxious Facebook users. I've gone on there a couple of times and looked in the comments and someone's just said, it's like, this is why I don't come on Facebook. Because people feel the need with their own, literally a picture of their face and their name. To be an arse. It's like, wow, you are brazen.
Luke, you're taking some serious bullets for us there.
Yeah, good job, Luke.
Very grateful for what you do.
Good job.
Patreon.com, as we've said, /Team Triple Jump. You can get all sorts of rewards, as aforementioned. If you're watching the video version of this podcast and want an audio version, it's play.acast.com/s/triple jump. No team. The website is triplej.merp, where we have careers, not right now, and other things. And finally, the Discord that I mentioned a little bit earlier is bit.ly/Team Triple Jump. The mods over there are Jack, Joe, and Jims and Dragonfly. Yes.
Fantastic. Instagram, if you'd like to follow us there, at that Peter Austin and at Ben Potter 20. Twitter, at that Peter Austin and at confused_dude. We do lists every Tuesday and Thursday, streams every Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, Monday and Tuesday being on Twitch. They're solo streams, and the VODs are staying on Twitch. They're no longer going to be uploaded to YouTube, as we explained just before the break. Thursday are the joint streams, Blaze It. Those are over on YouTube. They will be going on YouTube because they're on YouTube.
Yes.
Worst Games Ever is fortnightly Friday for patrons, Sunday for everybody else. It is a Worst Games Ever week. There will be an episode tomorrow if you are a regular supporter or viewer, and if you are a Patreon supporter of a certain tier, you would have seen it on Friday. Thank you very much for your support. Shows! The shows, of course, will be returning this year. We have none recorded, as you might imagine, because we've just come back. So we're going to try and get a show out at least every other week.
Yeah.
But you know, there'll be some weeks where that doesn't happen, obviously. You will get Worst Games Ever every fortnight.
Yes,
but
that will always happen.
Around that, we're going to try and fit in the other shows as and when.
Yeah.
So please look forward to those. Of course, we have a cooking show called Main Menu. We have cut content where we run through sort of pet peeves or video game room 101 with a guest, which is fun. What else do we have? Rules Boss.
We have Rules Boss. It's a challenge show where we get a challenge from the European Commission of Challenges. By the end of the month, we won't be in. It might just be some sort of independent commission of challenges.
Just be the Commission of Challenges. It might be Bob from the pub.
It might be Bob from the pub.
Bob, yes.
And what else do we do?
We've got another one. Prove It.
Prove It. That's it. That's the one where it's live action challenges.
Yeah.
We learn skills from video games and prove them.
Prove them in real life. And of course, we also do ranked lists. Our longest ever list, our longest yeah boy ever. Yeah. Every video game home console ranked from worst to best. That was a mammoth edit. It nearly killed us doing the voiceover. Yeah. It practically killed James doing most of the editing. And then Philip I don't know how he's still alive. He wrote it and researched the whole thing. So that's up now. It's an hour and 45 minutes long. If you feel like getting drunk, which I know a lot of us do given the state of the world, and you're hungover, give it a watch.
If you're hungover, why do you feel like getting drunk? You're mad.
Well, you know, when they're hungover after getting drunk.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what your deal is.
Both of those at the same time.
You do you, right?
Yeah.
Just survive, as it were. Right. Finally, please leave us a review on iTunes or your platform of choice. It helps something to do with algorithms.
Al Gore's rhythm.
Al Gore's rhythms.
He's got good
The
rhythm,
planet's
Al Gore.
burning.
Go, Al Gore.
Look at him go. Hey, guys, remember like 20 years ago when I warned you all about global warming and everyone said I was crazy?
Yeah. Sorry, Alan.
Sorry, Alan. Anyway, if you want to help with his rhythms, iTunes review.
Please add ice caps.
Right, it says today's sponsor here at the bottom, so I suppose I've got to do this again. I mean, our sponsor this week is Old Hangs 9. because it's a new year and something about the game Hangman, where you
9 years old today.
where it's 9 years old today because the pun dictates it is, and it's where someone decides a word and they have to guess the letters, and each time they do a letter, you draw a bit of a noose and a man hanging from it, or a woman.
Yeah,
Nooses are equal opportunities.
They
no,
are.
well, it has to be. No, it doesn't have to be woman. It doesn't have to be man because it's old hangs 9. So I didn't say, because if it was old hangs, if it rhymed with hang, it doesn't matter. Right, we'll see you later, everybody. Enjoy
Old Hags.
Enjoy
9.
your week. Oh,
That's the lady version.
there we go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.